Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me on today's CoolCare Masterclass, where we're looking at managing holidays and absences for your Christmas rota today uh, on here. So, as I'm sure you already know, CoolCare is here to make operating your care home easier, more efficient, and more comfortable. Today, looking at hopefully the easier side of things to make things a little more easy around the festive period. So, as you're using Zoom today, if you do have any questions for us, you can ask us using the Q&A option. You should be able to find it on your Zoom window, where you can then put in a question, and a member of our team will be able to answer it for you, either in the session now, or even I might answer it myself. It's relevant to what we're looking at. And as well as that, once we've finished today's masterclass, we'll have some time afterwards for you to answer any of the questions. So if you want to hang around at the end, ask us any further questions, you will have some time to do so as well. But anything you think of as we go through, we'll do our best to answer any and all questions you might have. Now, as for what we're covering today, as I say, it's looking at utilizing both your calendar and rota within CoolCare to help managing staff ability over the holiday period, and how to keep things up to date with changes as they happen from there. So looking at managing holidays, absences, how to add those into CoolCare, how to sort them out on the system through our calendar, how they can then affect your rota in terms of the shifts you've got on there and availability staff would have for them. And where we might have people removed from shifts where we can then find cover for them if someone's been taken off a shift because of a holiday or absence, finding someone to cover that in their absence on there. As well as how to actually amend shifts on the rota to fit any small changes we might need to make to fit in alongside all the stuff we've got going on. So it's how those different parts can affect each other and how we can use CoolCare to show that suitably on the system. So with that in mind, I'm going to swap over to my demo system, which, just a reminder, all the data we're seeing on this demo set of mine is all fictional, just for demo purposes only, no actual live data being used. So if I swap over onto there, you can see CoolCare on here now. So let's say what we're looking at to start with will be how we can manage holidays and absences on CoolCare. So, around, not just obviously around the festive period, but any time of year, you can have people that have holidays, absences, whether aren't able to work on days for whatever reason, and they can be managed on CoolCare via your calendar. And actually, you can start seeing them, at least some of them, on CoolCare itself from your dashboard at the very beginning. When you first log into CoolCare, if you have this widget enabled in the bottom right corner here, calendar actions required, it will tell me about anything on my calendar that I might need to deal with. And actually, you can see here, I've got if I hover over it, it'll tell me this is a holiday request that's been added in that I might need to deal with. Specifically looking at, that's the festive period over at Christmas time on there. So if you click on this from my widgets, it will actually take me to my staff section into the calendar, where you can see here, it will open up to the kind of 2-week period we're looking at. I can change that to the full month of December if I want to see that in with a bit more context. We can zoom in on there. And you can see here flashing at me what is a holiday request. So the good thing of holiday requests is staff members can actually do them themselves. If your staff are using the staff portal, they can put in those requests and they will just show up on your calendar for you, and you can then action them from here. And you can see there, because I've clicked it from the widget, it's flashing at me saying this is the one you've clicked on that you want to look at and look into. So from there, I can then click into it on here, and this is my holiday request. So you can see the details are already filled in, the staff member who put in the request, when they wanted it for, when they put in that request, and all the details surrounding it, such as their holiday entitlements and how much they're going to be. And you can then see a breakdown of that holiday on the right-hand side, each day individually, one by one, and the hours from there. The hours are kind of the main thing you'd want to look at to start with when you're looking at a holiday request, just to make sure that matches up with what they should be. These hours come across from the rota, but they'll always be kind of the gross hours from there, rather than anything that might have any break deductions taken off it or anything like that. So in that regard, if you do have break deductions for the home, you may need to reduce the hours from the holiday to represent, what they would actually work on that day, rather than just the total number of hours from start to finish, which is what I'm going to do in mine here. I'm just going to take down from 12 to 11 hours. Since they get a 1-hour break, that's what they actually work, and that means then they're getting paid properly for the holiday using the right number of hours. And by default, the holiday request will start as requested on there. When they put in the request from the portal, that's how it will start in CoolCare, and that's how it would start if you put it in manually on here as well. And for you to action it, you have the option to either authorize or decline. So just yes or no if they can have that day off from there. You can click on the little circle icons to do them one by one. Just say yes, you can have all those days off, or no, we can't. We can change them to declined as well, or back to requested. Or you can actually just click at the top there where it says authorized or declined to do the entire thing in one go. So if you did have like a longer request, it might be a week or two, rather than going through each day individually, you can just mark it all as authorized in one go. And when you do that, so you can see on the left-hand side here, how the entitlements will change. Essentially what's going to be subtracted from it and what they're going to end up with after it. The main one being the total entitlements is one you want to focus on here, which is going down from 33 hours all the way down to 0, using up the last remaining holiday entitlements on there. So, and it's authorizing it, saying, yes, you can have that day off, and that's going to then affect CoolCare in a couple of ways. If I save that on here, it's when you save the holiday request as authorized that then you'll get this box pop up asking me to remove from the rota. So do you want to remove this staff member from the authorized holidays from the rota? So in this case, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of December. Well, yes, I do take them off those shifts because obviously they're not working that day anymore. So I want to show those as unassigned. If I click yes to that, we'll do all that from there. You can see there the whole request gets marked as authorized there with the green underline under it. It is still flashing me, that's just because it's to say it's the one I clicked on from the request from the dashboard. But once it's marked as authorized in there, going back to the dashboard to show you, it does then disappear from there as well because it's now in action, so it no longer needs to be caught up on there. And we'll see how that affects our rota in a little moments. But before that, the other thing you might have that you need to add onto here with your staff members being off is an absence. So if a staff member is off for any reason that isn't a holiday, you would add it in as an absence on CoolCare. And this could be small things like sickness or appointments they've got booked in, or it could be anything else, more serious reasons in there, such as long-term leave like maternity. You could pop in as an absence on there. But it has the same kind of effect as we'll see when we pop it in. So in this case, we're going to just choose pop in one of those days. We'll go to the 23rd, for example, and we're going to add in an absence for one of my staff. And it looks, I'll say, quite similar to the whole request, as you can see. The main difference being you do have to add in the absence from the beginning. The staff members can't request absences. It's only holidays they can do. So we need to choose our staff member, who the absence is for. We'll go and call it here, for example. When the absence is, if it's the full day or multiple days, you can choose on there. And even say choose the times there. If it was just part of the day they'd be absent for, you can get as much detail as you want in that. I say they're going to be absent for the entire day. And with absences as well, the other difference is you can choose a reason. Now, these reasons could be set up in the background to say why they might be off on that day in your lookups in CoolCare, or you can just do it as a custom reason as well. We're going to pop in and say they have an appointment on that day, for example. And then, again, similar to the holiday, you'll have on the right-hand side the days they're absent for, so just the one day in this case on here. And then we'll start off unauthorized, similar to, I guess, requested in CoolCare in the holidays side of things. And that's just saying, kind of still investigating the absence, finding out what's going on with it, if it's not been confirmed yet or anything like that. But the idea is in CoolCare, you'd want to then authorize the absence in the end and double check those hours, of course, as well. That authorizing, like the holiday, is what's going to then remove them from the rota and deal with anything else, such as putting their hours of absence on the timesheet as well, and even update on their staff record. So it's typically once you've kind of confirmed the absence and you know everything about it, that you want to let the rest of CoolCare know about it, that's when you would then authorize it on the absence record here. With absences, you also get a few extra options as well. As you can see on the left-hand side here with these tick boxes, you've got a few options there. So you can say if this is a continuing absence, that would essentially make it open-ended. These would be more used if it's like the sickness or long-term leave, for example, in there, rather than you having to come in each day and update it day by day. The continuing absence will then just update itself automatically every day to say it's a day longer, etc., for as long as you want it to be that. Once they have returned, you can then untick that to stop it from updating it any further. But it's good for, like, say, open-ended absences or stuff where you're not sure when they're going to return to work. If it's a self-certified absence, like if they're off sick, you can pop it in there. And if it's a doctor's note they've got as well, you can even pop that in there with an expiry on that. But the main thing is, once you save that, similar to the holidays, that will then come with that similar box we saw on holiday when we authorize that. Do you want to remove the person from that shift on this day? We can say yes to that. And that will, well, as we'll see, affect our rota in a moment. With absences, they don't get kind of an authorized or not. It's just there to say it's an absence on that day. On there, but that will have a similar effect on our rota to say that that has been unassigned from there due to the authorized absence. But yeah, that's the idea with them adding in there. Like I say, holder requests, a staff member can put them in themselves through the staff portal to say what days they want off, and then you would either authorize or decline them through the calendar on here. Absences, you have to add them all in yourselves, just saying what day the staff member is off on and filling out all the details of that, and then authorizing it to remove them from the rota and anything else. So as I say, adding those in on there will have an effect on our rota. So if we go to that next, we can go to our staff rota on here and see the effects of it. I'll see. When you do open up your rota, it goes to today's date by default. So we can change the date using a little calendar icon at the top left corner, and I can change that to whatever week I want to look at. If I change that to the 22nd, now looking at it for that week there. And we can see automatically right away where the calendar has affected things. I've got a few because I've got 3 days off here and 1 day absence on here. And you can see the unassigned shifts on CoolCare. You'll spot on the rota easily. They'll be white to show they're unassigned compared to blue, which I have normally signed on that. And it will even tell you in this case why they've been unassigned on here. You can see the 3 days holiday, my senior carer there, and 1 day absence for my care assistants there. Now, one thing just to mention is the reasons there, the holiday absence bit will only show you if the staff member is on a repeating shift pattern, like they are on here. If you use a more flexible rota, like for example my night shifts here, if they were to be removed from their shifts, they would just be taken out of them and the shift would be unassigned. So if you're using a set shift pattern, you'll see why the staff member has been unassigned from it, whereas the block rotas will not. However, if you do click into the shifts either way, it also shows on there in this other events column there that they have either an absence or a holiday authorized. So you'll always be able to see on here when you're looking at who you want to cover the shift if the staff members have anything going on the calendar, but it's only if they're using a repeating shift pattern like these day shifts here that it will say actually on the shift itself why they've been unassigned from them. Just to clear up on that. So now with these unassigned shifts that we've got, from here we can see if our staff members are able to do them, if anyone else is available to do those shifts. If I use this absence one for the example, click into that. We can get some details for every staff member that would be available to do this shift on there. But if they have a mobile number in this number column here, we will have the option to message the staff. So you can send your staff members a text message asking if they're able to cover a shift, and they can then respond to it if they're available or not. And you can message them, I say, regardless if they've already got something booked in on that day. So I'm going to send this text to a couple of staff members, even though I've got the holiday booked in. But we'll see how that comes into play. So I've sent the staff members a text message, and see the mobile number that gets sent to receives a text. Unfortunately, I can't show you very well because it is on a mobile, but it is the real deal. The staff members have been sent a text, and the message they receive, it says you've been requested to cover a shift, and then gives them all the details. So tell you what home it's for, what position it's for. So Sam's home, care assistant in my case here. The date and time of the shift, so 23rd December 2025, 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. And then after that, in the text message, there'll be a little link they can open up on their mobile. It opens up a web page, essentially asking them, giving the details, where they can then respond to that, yes or no, if they're able to cover that shift, essentially. Two big buttons they'll see on the mobile, a green one, a red one, yes or no, if they can cover this shift. So I'm going to say one of them says, yes, they can cover it. And the other one is going to say no, so we can see both responses. There we are, unavailable. Right. So With the responses done through the staff messaging, looking at this, just looking at the rota here, you can see nothing's changed. It's not updated anything. Even if I refresh the rota, go back to that week, you can see, the rota itself hasn't updated to say that they've responded to that. So if you do want to see the responses that people have sent from the messages you sent out, you want to use this button in the top right that says Cover Requests. If you click on that, it'll bring up a list on the left-hand side telling you about any shifts that you sent out messages for to see if people have responded to them. So it'll tell you the date and time of the shift, what group and position it's for, and whose shift pattern it was part of, if it's a repeating pattern. And then it will tell you, out of the people you sent it to, if they responded and what they've said. So in this case, I sent it to 2 staff members. One said they can cover, one said they're unavailable. But they both responded on there. So it gives you kind of the basic overview to see if people have responded to them and a general overview of what they've said. But for the full detail, you can then click back into the shift itself. And from there, if I scroll down a bit, we can see the responses they've given. So for the 1 staff member, they said yes. So it's got a little tick there to say that they are available for it. And the one that said no there, put a red cross there. They are unavailable, which in this case, matches up with the holiday that we just let them have. That's fine. But the idea is, CoolCare will let you see who's responded to it and even when they've responded to it. So if you do send out to multiple staff members, you can see who's responded the earliest. It might be if it's a first come, first served basis. If they would get the shift, you can make a decision based on the responses you've got, when they responded, and all the information you have from there. So in this case, 1 person said yes on there. He's obviously not got anything else going on that day, no holidays or absences in there. So you still do have to then choose who you want to do the shift. Like I say, CoolCare won't put anyone on a shift without you choosing. So once they have responded to them, you can then select them just by clicking them on the shift here. And that will assign them onto that shift there, as you can see. Just to show you, if I refresh the cover request at this point, it disappears from there because the shift is now assigned to someone. And it can also send the staff member another text message, just a confirmation to say you've been assigned to the shift, giving them all the details to let them know that they have been put on that day. And that's because I have this bit turned on at the top. Text staff when assigned to shift. As long as you have that switched on there, it will send the staff member a text message anytime you assign them to an individual shift on there. So you don't have to send them the request to ask in the first place. It's just if you put someone on a shift, that option will send them a text to let them know they've been assigned to it. So it's good if you're using kind of a flexible rota or just to let your staff know about any additional cover. And also it works well as a confirmation for if you've asked them to cover a shift in the first place. So yeah, that's a good way of your staff members to find cover for those unassigned shifts on there. Again, there is also the staff portal where the staff can put in those holiday requests. They can also request shifts as well, just a way of them see the unassigned shifts and then being able to put their name in and suggest and request them from the rota as well. Yeah. But the other question comes in, we have these holidays on here, of course. A staff member said they can cover one of those days. However, they can't do the full shift. They might need to change something about that shift to essentially accommodate the staff member that can cover it. And that's what the rota is all about, making those small changes to accommodate what your staff can work and any changes we might need to make to it. So if you need to change the actual timings on a shift itself, like the actual shift times, rather than say 7 while 7 on there, it might be the staff member said they can start and finish an hour later, something like that. We can put that on here. We just need to update the shift itself. The way you would amend a shift on the rota is actually to delete it and then replace it. So we'll take this one for the Monday, for example, and say actually the staff member said they can cover it. They can't do the 7 while 7, but they can do 8 while 8, start and finish an hour later. So if I click on that shift there, you got the option there, the red button, to delete it. And that shows on the unassigned shifts there. Also, it works with staff that are assigned to shift. You can click on them and just delete them as well from that. But in this case, we'll use this holiday one as the example. So I'm going to delete the original, get rid of the 7 while 7 shift since we're not having that in there anymore. But the big thing with deleting shifts is it's not going to affect a rolling shift pattern. So if you do have this as a set pattern, it's not going to delete all the occurrences of it. It's just this single one we're deleting on the 22nd of December. So if I click delete shift there, that gets rid of it. And then in that gap where you've deleted the shift from, you can click back into it and add in a new shift. So, and from that, you can choose a shift time. It could be one of your regular shift times you've got set up in the background already in CoolCare, or it can be an ad hoc shift if it's something out of the ordinary, which in this case it would be. So we can fill out the details of it. So in this case, like I say, they're just starting and finishing an hour later, so we're just going to do it from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Add that shift in there, and that pops it in just like that. From there, I can then click into that shift, and as you can see, it's just like any other one. You can click into it, see who's available, and put them on the shift, whoever you want to do it. We're going to choose one of my senior carers that said they can do this shift with the slightly amended times, and that pops them in there. Easy as that. So if you need to update the timings on a shift, that's how you'd handle it. Just delete the original, get rid of that old one, add in a new one to replace it from there. And this is also how you would handle split shifts. So if you've again asked people to cover a shift, but they've said, oh, I can only do the morning or the afternoon, half of it, and we need to find someone else to do the other half, we can manage that through here as well. So we might use, for example, Christmas Eve, the Wednesday, for example, in there. We're going to split that into 2 half days by once again deleting the original by clicking into it, clicking the red button there to delete. And then, like we did before, click in the empty space, and we can add in a new shift on there. I'm going to do it as 2 ad hoc shifts. Say one person can do from the start of the shift till noon, for example. That adds it in there. And then I've got this additional row, which is this third senior carer I've got on here, which is just for extra shifts that I might need to add in every now and again. So if I click into that one, so again, I can add in another ad hoc shift for the rest of it in there. And there you are. Now I've got 2 split halves of that split shift, and I can click into either one, assigning staff members to it from there. Just like that. And there you are. That's how you handle split shifts alongside, so just changing them with that. So anything you need to change about a shift, that you're just doing a one-off, you can delete it, replace it with something else easily enough from there. And that is how kind of holidays and absences can affect your rota on CoolCare, and how you can keep these up to date to reflect those changes, find cover for them, and adjust the rota where you need to. So hope that has been useful for everyone. Just bear 1 second, I'll swap back to my presentation now. That is all to show you for today. There we are. If you were interested in additional training on CoolCare, whether it be the rotas, the calendar, or any part of the system, you can get in touch with us at the training team. You may be entitled to some free of charge training as part of your CoolCare subscription. So you can email us, training@coolcare.co.uk, or you can phone our team on 013 385 3853, and they'll be able to check for you as well. And of course, if you need any additional help on CoolCare, you can also get in touch with our support team on that. So you can call them, email them, or even use the live chat available within CoolCare, the little bubble in the bottom left corner you might have spotted on there. Or for any of the other queries regarding your CoolCare subscription or accounts, you can email our customer success team as well. So any help you need, our teams can help you out with whatever it might be. In that case, all I have to say is thank you for joining me for today's masterclass. And as I say, we'll leave the webinar open for 5 minutes or so, just for anyone to ask any further questions you might have. And we'll hopefully see you in a couple of weeks' time for our next masterclass, which we'll be looking at recruitment and retention. So I hope to see you all then. And yeah, until then, have a nice day, everyone. And as I say, we'll leave the room open for 5 minutes or so, just for anyone to ask any other questions that you might have.